Yhwach, the Almighty. Yhwach, the leader of the Sternritter and the Quincy Emperor, is the most dangerous antagonist in Bleach's 1,000-year Blood War arc. Designated A, the Almighty, Yhwach possesses the power to see and manipulate the future, rendering all attacks against him futile. The Almighty allows him to rewrite possibilities and can even rewrite his own death, ensuring victory over any opponent. However, the Soul King and his right arm, Mimihagi, are immune to the precognitive powers of the Almighty, which is why he is unable to predict Mimihagi's actions. His return after a millennium of slumber leads to the invasion of Soul Society and the devastation of the Shinigami. Yhwach's ultimate technique involves absorbing powers from others, including his own followers. After absorbing both the Soul King and Mimihagi, Yhwach levels up massively, gaining a ton of new abilities. He can unleash darkness from his fingertip to create a huge black barrier, manipulate physical matter, and make himself immune to the harmful effects of hollow powers on Quincy. On top of that, he can open circular portals to travel across vast distances instantly, and even start merging the human world, Soul Society, and Hueco Mundo into one. As the progenitor of all Quincy, Yhwach represents the ultimate threat to the balance of life and death, culminating in his climactic battle against Ichigo Kurosaki, where he attempts to merge all worlds into one chaotic existence. Jugram Haschwalth, the Balance. Jugram Haschwalth, designated B, the Balance, serves as Yhwach's right-hand man and the Grandmaster of the Sternritter. His power, the Balance, allows him to redistribute fortune and misfortune during battle. Any good fortune experienced by his enemies is turned into misfortune, tipping the scales in his favor, while his own injuries are transferred to his opponent. Yugram's ultimate attack involves summoning a massive celestial shield and blade imbued with the Balance, capable of shattering any attack. His calm and stoic demeanor masks a deeply conflicted past, particularly in his rivalry with Bazz-B. As if Jugram wasn't already strong enough, he also gets to use the Almighty whenever Yhwach isn't using it. With the Almighty, Jugram can see the future, letting him dodge enemy attacks with ease. However, unlike Yhwach, he can't actually change the future. He can only see it. Uryū Ishida, the Antithesis. Uryū Ishida, designated A, Antithesis, is the final member to join the Sternritter and serves as an infiltrator within Yhwach's army. Yhwach named Uryū as his successor, even though he was a newbie and pretty much a stranger to the rest of the Sternritter, most of whom would have preferred Haschwalth for the job. Yhwach gave Uryū a Schrift with the letter A, just like his own, symbolizing Uryū's potential to take his place. Uryū's power, the Antithesis, allows him to reverse events between two targets, such as transferring wounds and outcomes from himself to his enemy. This ability proves critical during his battle with Jugram Haschwalth, where Uryū uses Antithesis to outmaneuver Yugram's overwhelming balance powers. In the anime, this ability doesn't just work on people, it can even be used on objects. It was seen when Yhwach tosses his medallion out of Kirito Hikifune's cage of life. Uryū uses Antithesis to swap the throne medallion with Yhwach himself. Uryū's strongest attack combines the Antithesis with his Quincy abilities, unleashing a barrage of reishi arrows that destabilizes the target's reality. While his loyalty is questioned, Uryū's ultimate goal of stopping Yhwach remains unwavering, making him one of the most pivotal figures in the final battle.
And really quick, if you enjoy these no-nonsense, straight-to-the-point videos covering all sorts of anime topics, then make sure to like this video and subscribe. And if you're feeling extra supportive, then consider clicking the link in the description below to check out and purchase some of our new merch. This greatly helps support the channel and keeps sponsors away from these videos. But anyway.
Bazz-B, the Heat. Bazz-B, designated H, the Heat, wields flames so powerful they can incinerate anything in his path. Known for his fiery personality and raw combativeness, Bazz-B's signature technique, Burner Finger, is a series of devastating flame-based attacks that increase in potency with each finger he raises. Burner Finger 4 can obliterate massive structures, while Burner Finger 5 unleashes an explosive inferno strong enough to challenge even captains. On top of his blazing burner fingers, Bazz-B can crank up the heat by igniting all 5 fingertips on one hand, blasting out a spiraling cone of fire in front of him. He's also got a move called Burning Stomp, where he slams the ground and sends a wave of fire and heat sweeping across the area around him. His final confrontation with Jugram reveals his resolve and tragic past, as his unyielding pride drives him to defy Yhwach. Bazz-B's refusal to kneel to fate and his explosive powers make him one of the most memorable and destructive Sternritter. Askin Nakk Le Vaar, the Deathdealing. Askin Nakk Le Vaar, designated D, the Deathdealing, has one of the most insidious abilities among the Sternritter. The Deathdealing allows him to calculate and manipulate lethal doses of any substance, including Reiatsu, making him nearly impossible to fight head-on. To make his lethal dose work, Askin has to take in a lot of whatever substance he wants to mess with. For example, if he drinks blood, he can lower the lethal dose of blood in his opponent's body, turning it deadly for them. On top of that, raising his own lethal dose gives him a healing factor, which lets him bounce back from Yushiro Shihoin's brutal burns in just seconds. The gift ring, a technique of the Deathdealing, allows him to enlarge the bracelet on his arm and hurls it at his opponent. Right before it hits, the bracelet shrinks down and locks onto a specific part of their body, concentrating the full force of the Deathdealing into that spot. This causes instant death to that area. When Urahara got hit in the eyes with this move, they literally burst open, leaving him blind and bleeding. Askin mentions that he only whips out this technique when regular Deathdealing doesn't cut it against tougher opponents. His ultimate attack, Gift Bereiche, or Gift Ball Deluxe, creates a massive poisonous sphere that spreads instant death to anyone within its range. Despite his relaxed and sarcastic personality, Askin's tactical genius allows him to adapt to any situation, as shown in his battles against Yorichi and Kisuke Urahara. His ability to render even the most powerful opponents helpless solidifies his status as a deadly and unpredictable force. Lille Barro, the X-Axis. Lille Barro, designated X the X-Axis, is the Sternritter's ultimate sniper and the first Quincy to receive Yhwach's Schrift. His power allows him to fire an energy shot that pierces through anything, regardless of defenses or distance. The X-Axis is basically an invisible force that creates perfect holes in anything Lille aims at, and anything in between the target and his gun's muzzle, along a straight line. The cool part is that the effect stops at his chosen target, so he doesn't have to worry about accidentally hitting anything behind it. When he opens both of his eyes, Lille takes the X-Axis to the next level. He applies its power to himself, letting enemy attacks phase right through him, just like his shots pierce through targets. In this state, Lille brags that no weapon in the world can touch him. Lille's strongest form, Volstande Gilel, transforms him into an angelic being with multiple wings, granting him the ability to regenerate infinitely and fire X-Axis blasts that disintegrate everything they touch. His stoic faith in Uaba and his godlike transformation make him an unstoppable juggernaut. As seen in his epic battle against Shinsui Koryaku, where his near invincibility pushes the captain to his limits. Gremmy Thoumeaux, the Visionary. Gremmy Thoumeaux, designated V, the Visionary, possesses the terrifying ability to turn his imagination into reality. This power makes him one of the most overpowered Sternritter, as he can create anything he envisions, from instantly healing from injuries and turning his opponent's arm into cookies, to conjuring weapons and setting off meteor showers. His biggest flex is his ability to bring anything he imagines to life. He can even clone himself, and with every clone, his imagination power levels up. A prime example is when he and his clone imagine a massive meteor so big it almost wipes out the Serete, until Kenpachi Zaraki steps in. Gremmy doesn't stop there. He can create other sentient beings too, like Gunnell Lee, only to erase them from existence just as easily. And it's not just about creating others, he can even whip up a living vessel for himself if he wants to. However, his limitless power is also his downfall, as his imagination spirals out of control when attempting to match Kenpachi's raw strength. Gremmy's childlike demeanor and unfettered abilities highlight both the boundless potential and inherent dangers of his power. Pernida Parnkgjas, the Compulsory. Pernida Parnkgjas, designated C, the Compulsory, is one of the most grotesque and unsettling Sternritter. Revealed to be a sentient fragment of the Soul King's left hand, Pernida's power allows it to manipulate and control nerves, causing instant paralysis or gruesome mutations in its opponents. Its most fearsome technique, Nerve Invasion, spreads its control by embedding nerves into objects or enemies, allowing it to reshape things or forcing enemies to self-destruct. It can create massive left arms and hands out of the ground or buildings to attack its enemies. If one of its fingers gets chopped off, Pernida can still use the Compulsory through it. The finger even grows an eye on its knuckle before going after the target. This isn't actually a Schrift given by Yhwach's blood. It's a power Pernida's always had. Pernida's battle with Mayuri Kurotsuchi is a clash of evolution and science, as it continuously adapts and evolves mid-fight. Its monstrous nature and relentless growth make it one of the most terrifying forces in the Sternritter. Bambietta Basterbine, the Explode. Bambietta Basterbine, designated E, the Explode, is a sadistic and volatile Sternritter who can turn anything she touches into a bomb. Her signature technique, Reishi Bombs, allows her to launch devastating explosions that can obliterate entire landscapes. Bambietta's explosive attacks are basically unblockable because they're not traditional bombs made of reishi. Instead, her power turns anything her reishi touches into a bomb. This means she can attack in all directions at once without even aiming directly at her target, making her a walking disaster zone. On top of that, she can release explosive energy around herself in a massive sphere, dealing serious damage to everything in her surroundings. Her most powerful attack, Vollständig Explode, exponentially increases her destructive capabilities, allowing her to shoot out her reishi spears from her wings and fill the area with them. Anything that touches the orbs turns into a bomb and blows up after a short delay. Despite her cheerful facade, Bambietta's cruel nature and thirst for destruction make her a formidable opponent. Her downfall, however, comes when Giselle zombifies her, showcasing the brutality and betrayal within the Wandenreich ranks. Gerard Valkyrie, the Miracle. Gerard Valkyrie, designated M, the Miracle, is a towering force of nature whose power allows him to turn damage into strength. Gerard's Schrift isn't something Uaba gave him. It's just a name for a power he's always had. Being the heart of the Soul King, every injury he sustains fuels his regeneration and growth, making him nearly invincible. If he loses a limb, it'll quickly grow back, all glowing and with red veins, even stronger than before. If he's sliced in half, he'll just piece himself back together with pure light. Using the Miracle, Gerard can also channel people's hope into his sword, Hoffnung. The sword basically becomes hope itself and bounces any damage back at whoever hits it, which he likens turning their hope into despair. His Miracle sword unleashes devastating strikes capable of leveling entire battlefields. His Vollständig transformation further amplifies his size and power, turning him into a godlike giant. Gerard's relentless strength pushes captains like Byakuya, Hitsugaya, and Kenpachi to their limits, making him one of the most indomitable and iconic members of the Sternritter. Asnod, the Fear. Asnod, designated F, the Fear, embodies psychological horror with his ability to induce crippling fear in his opponents. Using his Schrift, the Fear, he spreads terror through healing file, coated with a toxin that forces his enemies to confront their deepest anxieties. His most terrifying attack, Vollständig Tatar Foras, transforms him into a grotesque, demonic angel, capable of releasing waves of unrelenting fear that paralyze and crush the psyche. During his confrontation with Rukia, his power nearly overwhelms her, but her mastery of absolute zero temperatures allows her to bypass the fear and strike him down. Asnod's ability to weaponize terror cements his place as one of the most chilling Sternritter. Giselle Guel, the Zombie. Giselle Guel, designated Z, the Zombie, has one of the most disturbing abilities among the Sternritter. Her Schrift allows her to control the bodies of the dead or living by splattering them with her blood. Her zombies retain some combat skill, but are often twisted into grotesque, mindless tools of war. Giselle's most chilling technique involves turning her fellow Sternritter into zombies, as seen when she reanimates Bambietta Basterbine as her personal puppet. Giselle can also heal her comrades by using the flesh of the dead to replace their own. If someone loses a limb, she can just take a matching one from a corpse and attach it. She can also reattach limbs to her zombies by holding them in place. On top of that, Giselle can take and heal from any fatal injuries when activating the zombie. Her cruel and manipulative personality shines through in battle, masking a sadistic nature that thrives on controlling others. Despite her playful facade, Giselle's power makes her a terrifying and unpredictable adversary. Lille Toto Lampert, the Glutton. Lille Toto Lampert, designated G, the Glutton, possesses the horrifying ability to consume anything and everything with her grotesquely distending mouth. Her Schrift allows her to devour living beings, energy, and even objects, reducing her enemies to nothingness. Despite her childlike appearance and sarcastic demeanor, Lille Toto's power makes her a deadly threat capable of wiping out entire groups of opponents in an instant. Her most notable moment comes during the downfall of the Wanderreich, where she turns against Uaba after his betrayal of the Sternritter, showcasing her ruthless pragmatism and survival instinct. Menenius McAllen, the Power. Menenius McAllen, designated P, the Power, is a deceptively soft-spoken and cheerful Sternritter with overwhelming physical strength. Her Schrift grants her superhuman strength, allowing her to deliver earth-shattering punches capable of leveling buildings and incapacitating even the most resilient opponents. She can also seriously bulk up her muscles. Despite her innocent demeanor, Meninas uses her brute force to devastating effect, particularly during the invasion of the Soul Society. Her most notable technique, a single devastating punch infused with reishi, can obliterate opponents instantly. In the anime, she uses an attack called Diamond Push, where she puts her hands together in a diamond shape and charges at her opponent. This move was strong enough to send Ichigo flying a good distance. While her screen time is limited, Meninas' raw strength makes her a force to be reckoned with. Candace Catnip, the Thunderbolt. Candace Catnip, designated T, the Thunderbolt, commands the power of lightning, making her one of the most offensively aggressive Sternritter. Her Schrift allows her to generate and control high-voltage lightning at will, using it to enhance her physical attacks and unleash devastating ranged strikes. With her lightning jump technique, she can dodge attacks by turning into lightning and zipping a short distance to avoid both the attack and her opponent. Her strongest technique, Electrocution Voltstandish, transforms her into a lightning-infused being capable of raining down bolts of electricity with pinpoint accuracy. Candace's impulsive and short-tempered personality is reflected in her relentless combat style, where she prioritizes overwhelming her enemies with sheer speed and destructive power. Nanana Najakub, the Underbelly. Nanana Najakub, designated Yu, the Underbelly, possesses the analytical ability to scan his opponents and identify their weaknesses. His Schrift enables him to analyze the flow of reishi in his enemies, pinpointing their vulnerabilities with weak point detection. Once analyzed, he can incapacitate them by targeting their weak points. Nanana's most dangerous ability is the Morphine Pattern, which paralyzes his opponents by disrupting their reishi flow entirely. Despite his eccentric and laid-back demeanor, Nanana's cunning intelligence and methodical combat style make him a formidable and tactical threat. Pepe Wakebrada, the Love. Pepe Wakebrada, designated L, the Love, wields the ability to manipulate others through the power of love. His Schrift lets him fire a heart-shaped projectile by forming his hands into a heart. Anyone hit by it instantly falls for Pepe, becoming so obsessed they'll do whatever he wants, even attacking their own allies or those stronger than them. This power also lets him take control of Zanpakuto, pushing his enemies to keep fighting past their limits. However, it doesn't work on things without hearts, like buildings. His most devastating technique, Love Rope, ensnares opponents in heart-shaped projectiles that instantly subjugates them. Despite his comical and flamboyant appearance, Pepe's ability to turn allies against each other makes him a dangerous and manipulative adversary. His downfall comes when his fellow Sternritter reject and attack him, showcasing the limits of his power when faced with overwhelming betrayal. Robert Accutrone, the N. Robert Accutrone, designated N, the N, is a disciplined and battle-hardened Sternritter who possesses extraordinary speed and combat skills. While his Schrift remains somewhat enigmatic as it is never named in the series, Robert demonstrates immense prowess during the Sternritter's assault on the Soul Society, where he severely wounds several high-ranking captains. His use of Voltstandish allows him to move at blinding speeds, unleashing precision strikes that overwhelm his opponents before they can react. Though his time in the spotlight is brief, Robert's efficiency and skill highlight his value as one of the Sternritter's most capable combatants. Kangdu, the Iron. Kangdu, designated I, the Iron, has the ability to reinforce his body with an impenetrable iron-like defense, making him nearly impervious to attacks. His Schrift grants him unmatched durability, allowing him to withstand devastating blows while countering with precision and power. Kangdu's most notable technique involves hardening his limbs into razor-sharp weapons that can pierce through his enemies with ease. His stoic and calculating demeanor reflects his unyielding nature in battle, but his loyalty to Uaba proves to be his undoing when he is sacrificed during the Emperor's ascension. Berenice Gabrielli, the Question. Berenice Gabrielli, designated Q, the Question, wields a unique power that allows her to paralyze opponents by overwhelming them with questions and doubts. Her Schrift forces her enemies into a psychological trap, where their minds spiral into uncertainty, leaving them vulnerable. Despite her fascinating abilities, Berenice meets an abrupt end during the Sternritter's invasion, as Kenpachi Zaraki easily cuts her down before she can fully unleash her power. Her brief appearance highlights the sheer brutality of the conflict and the overwhelming strength of the Shinigami captains. Jerome Guisbat, the Roar. Jerome Guisbat, designated R, the Roar, possesses the ability to unleash a deafening roar that generates massive shockwaves, capable of destroying buildings and incapacitating opponents. His Schrift amplifies his voice into a weapon of mass destruction, overwhelming his enemies with sheer force. However, Jerome's brute strength proves insufficient against Kenpachi Zaraki, who swiftly eliminates him during the Sternritter's initial assault. Jerome's short-lived role emphasizes the brutal efficiency of the Shinigami captains and the high stakes of the Quincy invasion. Driscoll Bursey, the Overkill. Driscoll Bursey, designated O, the Overkill, gains strength and power with each life he takes. His Schrift allows him to absorb the energy of his fallen enemies, exponentially increasing his abilities the longer he remains in battle. Driscoll's most notable moment was wielding Chojiro Sasakibe's stolen Bankai, Koko Gonryo Rikyu, to unleash powerful lightning attacks. However, his arrogance in relying solely on the stolen Bankai led to his downfall, as Captain Yamamoto incinerated him with overwhelming flames, ending his life in an instant. Lloyd, the Yourself. Lloyd, designated Y, the Yourself, possesses the ability to perfectly mimic the appearance, abilities, and combat style of any opponent. This power makes him one of the most versatile Sternritter, as he can effectively fight as a mirror image of his enemy. Lloyd's strongest moment comes during his battle with Kenpachi Zaraki, where he copies Kenpachi's overwhelming strength. However, the real Kenpachi proves far too powerful, cutting Lloyd down despite his mimicry. Lloyd's Schrift highlights the inherent danger of facing a Shinigami who thrives on raw instinct and unparalleled combat ability. Lloyd, the Yourself. Lloyd's identical twin brother, shares the same Schrift, Y, the Yourself, but with a different mimic ability. He can mimic not just appearances but also personalities and memories. He is, however, unable to copy other people's powers and ability like his twin brother can. The same way Lloyd is also unable to copy other people's memories and personalities like Royd can. Royd's most significant role comes when he impersonates Uaba during the Sternritter's invasion of Soul Society, fooling even the most seasoned Shinigami, including Yamamoto. Royd's performance as Uaba enables the real Quincy Emperor to recover and ambush Yamamoto at his weakest. Despite his skill, Royd meets his end at Yamamoto's hands, a victim of the Shinigami captain's unmatched fury. His sacrifice demonstrates the Sternritter's unwavering loyalty to their emperor. Nyanzol Weizol, the Wind. Nyanzol Weizol, designated W, the Wind, possesses the ability to manipulate space around him, deflecting attacks and distorting trajectories. His Schrift, the Wind, allows him to render most offensive strikes ineffective, as they are redirected away from his body. But if an attack is fast enough for him to miss, he can counter it. He can also use the wind to slice opponents in half just by moving his finger, which makes their body bend out of the way. Despite his power, Nyanzol's laid-back and clumsy personality hinders his effectiveness in combat. Nyanzol met his end at the hands of Senjumaru Shutara during the battle in the Soul King's palace. Using her exceptional craftsmanship, Senjumaru reconstructed Nyanzol's trenchcoat, embedding dozens of deadly spikes within it. Unable to use his Schrift to distort these attacks, he was impaled from within and swiftly killed, showcasing her strategic brilliance and precision. Masque de Masculine, the Superstar. Masque de Masculine, designated S, the Superstar, possesses an ability that activates when his partner James cheers him on, causing Masque's eyes, nose, and the star on his mask to glow. This boosts his physical strength, speed, and endurance, letting him heal quickly and power up with each cheer. After just one round of cheers, Masque goes from being outclassed by a Shinigami captain to knocking out two with a single punch each. He even becomes tough enough to withstand a direct hit from Kensei's explosive Bankai. Masque's healing is super fast too, regrowing his destroyed eardrums in seconds after James cheers him on, even though he can't hear them. With his power, Masque easily defeats two Bankai-wielding captains. His ability also creates a lifelink between him and James. As long as one is alive, the other can be revived. This means Masque can only be killed if both he and James are taken out at the same time, or if James is temporarily knocked out before he can heal Masque. Masque's star-shaped energy beam is powerful enough to pierce a captain's body, like Rojuro Otoribashi's. When Masque gets angry, a star mark appears on his fist, making his punches 10 times stronger, with bursts of star-shaped energy on impact. He calls this move the Hammer of Justice. And when James cheers him on, Mask can use a technique called Star Lariat, which he claims can punch an opponent from a mile away. He can even fire it rapidly to overwhelm enemies. Mask's ultimate move, Star Flash, Supernova, is as over the top as you'd expect. He takes to the sky and uses the Reishi trail from his wings to trace a giant glowing pentagram. Once the setup's done, he soars above the pentagram, shouts out the attack's name, and dives chest first straight into it. The result is a massive star-shaped explosion slamming into the ground with an earth-shaking impact. James, the Superstar. James shares the same designation, S the Superstar, with his partner Mask, and his whole role is to hype up and empower his partner. James clearly respects Mask a lot and gets really into cheering him on during fights. He even gets super upset when Mask seems to lose, like when he was facing Kensei Muguruma. James always carries a small bell that he rings to show his support whenever Mask's in battle. James's Schrift works by boosting Mask whenever he cheers him on. As long as Mask is alive, James can't die, and will keep going on no matter how much damage he takes. If his original body gets knocked out, James can use his superstar power to create little copies of himself from his severed parts, which lets him amp up his cheering even more, helping Mask power up. However, if both James and Mask die at the same time, neither can come back, and they're both gone for good. Kilga OP, the Jail. Kilge OP is the executive hunting captain of the 1st Jagdarmee of the Wandenreich and a Sternritter with the designation J, the Jail. His ability lets him create reishi constructs that can close dimensional gateways and form cages to trap enemies. Once someone's caught in these cages, they are completely sealed off from the outside. No one can detect their ryatsu, and while they can hear others through a denrei shinki, they can't be heard by anyone on the outside. These cages are incredibly tough, to the point that even Ichiko's Bankai-enhanced Getsuga Tensho couldn't break through one. The only people who can't be trapped by the Jail are other Quincy. BG9K. BG9, with the designation K, is described as a mechanical doll by Sui Feng. It has a robotic body that's packed with advanced combat tech. It's unclear if BG9 is just a cyborg or a full-on living machine. As a Quincy, BG9 absorbs spiritual energy from the air and combines it with its own to create weapons. Its robot body is tough enough to survive a direct hit from Sui Feng's Jakuho Raikolben, even with a huge hole blasted through it. If it takes serious damage, GB9 can activate a self-repair system to fix itself, which is how it came back after the Jakuho Raikolben attack. BG9 also has sharp metallic tendrils that it can extend from its chest to pierce through stone and flesh. It uses these tendrils to extract data from fallen enemies by forming a reishi curtain around them. Plus, it has several missile-like stud devices hidden in its body, which it can launch for massive explosions. These can be fired all at once, and BG9 reloads quickly. Sui Feng was badly hurt when she got hit by dozens of them. Despite being cold and mechanical, BG9 actually fears death. After being defeated, it begged Yhwach to spare it, but to no avail as Yhwach showed him no mercy. Hubert, unnamed Schrift. Hubert is a high-ranking Sternritter who serves as a commander within the Wandenreich. While his Schrift and abilities are never explicitly revealed, Hubert demonstrates exceptional leadership and combat skills during the Sternritter's invasion of Soul Society. He is often seen coordinating attacks and maintaining order within the Quincy forces. Despite his lack of screen time, Hubert's presence reinforces the hierarchical structure of the Wandenreich and the disciplined nature of the Sternritter army. His fate is left ambiguous, as he is presumed to have fallen during the final battles against the Shinigami. Kang Du's subordinates, the fallen Sternritter. While not individually named, several Sternritter under Kang Du's command showcase the vast power of the Quincy forces during the 1,000-year Blood War. These subordinates serve as elite soldiers who overwhelm the Shinigami with their precision and teamwork. Their presence during the Wandenreich's initial invasion highlights the sheer scale of Yhwach's army and the devastating impact of the Sternritter's coordinated attacks. Although their abilities remain unnamed, their loyalty and sacrifice exemplify the unyielding resolve of the Quincy in their war against Soul Society.